Stop telling everyone what you are about to do. Not because your dream is shameful, not because you should fear people, and not because success requires you to disappear from the world. Stay quiet, because a new dream is weak before it becomes strong. It is easy to damage. A careless opinion can make you doubt it. Early praise can make you feel as if you have already earned something. Too many questions can pull your attention away from the work itself. There is a moment in every meaningful journey when nobody understands what you are building. They cannot see the hours you are putting in. They cannot see the skill becoming sharper, the plan becoming clearer, or the mistakes teaching you what to do next. From the outside, it may look as if nothing is happening, but beneath the surface, everything is changing. That silent stage is not empty. It is where your future is being formed. The world does not need another announcement about who you plan to become. It needs the finished work. It needs the problem you solved, the promise you kept, the strength you built, and the life you changed through discipline. Words may create attention for a day, but results create respect that lasts. This audiobook is about learning to move without needing an audience. It is about protecting your focus, lowering the noise around your goals, and becoming so consistent that your progress eventually becomes impossible to ignore. You will learn how to stop explaining yourself, how to work through doubt, how to build patience when nothing seems to be happening, and how to let your success speak with a voice stronger than any promise. You do not need to prove your potential today. You need to use it. You do not need to describe the future. You need to build it. Work quietly, grow honestly, finish what you started. Then let the result enter the room before you say a word. Written and published by Audiobook Horizon. Chapter 1. Protect the dream before it becomes a result. Every dream begins in a fragile form. Then first, it may be nothing more than an idea that returns to your mind again and again. You may see a business that does not yet exist, a healthier version of yourself, a book you want to write, a skill you want to master, or a life that feels completely different from the one you are living now. The idea may be exciting, but excitement does not make it strong. It becomes strong only after you give it time, effort, correction, and repeated action. This is why you should be careful about sharing a new plan too early. A seed does not grow better because people stand around it and talk about how large the tree will become. It grows because it is placed in the right soil, protected from damage, given water, and allowed to develop roots where nobody can see them. Your goals need the same protection. Before they can survive public attention, they need private strength. Many people announce a plan because speaking about it feels good. The moment they say, "I am starting a business," or "I am going to transform my life," they receive a reaction. Someone becomes impressed. Someone encourages them. Someone asks questions. For a few minutes, they feel important. The brain can mistake that feeling for real progress. It receives a reward before the work has earned one. That is dangerous. When you receive praise for an intention, some of the hunger to act can disappear. You have already enjoyed part of the emotional reward. You have already imagined people admiring the finished result. You may even begin to identify as the person you hope to become, although your habits have not changed. The conversation creates the feeling of movement, while your real life remains in the same place. This does not happen because you are lazy or weak. It happens because the mind responds strongly to social approval. Being seen feels rewarding. Being praised feels safe. But growth often requires you to delay that reward. It asks you to become comfortable doing important work without being noticed. There is another problem with sharing too soon. The moment you tell people what you are building, their voices enter the project. Some people will support you. Their support may be sincere, but even sincere support can create pressure. They may begin asking for updates. They may expect you to move faster than the work allows. You may start making decisions to avoid disappointing them instead of making decisions that are right for the project. Other people will doubt you. They may laugh, warn you, compare you with someone who failed, or remind you of an old mistake. They may not be trying to destroy your confidence. They may simply be speaking from their own fear, but their fear can still become a voice inside your mind. One sentence can follow you into your workspace. What makes you think you can do that? People like us do not succeed at things like this. That market is already too crowded. You always start things and never finish. Even when you know the comment is unfair, it can stay with you. It appears when the work becomes difficult. It repeats itself when progress is slow. It turns a temporary problem into a personal question about your ability. Your early work does not need that extra weight. You already have enough to manage. You must learn new skills. You must make mistakes. You must deal with uncertainty. You must build routines that your old life did not require. Adding the opinions of 10 other people does not make the process easier. It often makes it harder to hear your own judgment. Privacy gives your mind room to think. This does not mean you should never ask for help. Good advice can save time and prevent serious mistakes. A trusted mentor, an experienced partner, or a skilled professional may need to understand your plan. The difference is purpose. You share with them because their knowledge can improve your decisions. You are not sharing because you need applause, attention, or emotional permission. Before telling someone about a goal, ask yourself a direct question. Will this conversation help me do the work better? If the answer is yes, speak clearly and listen carefully. If the answer is no, stay quiet and return to the task. Privacy is not secrecy. Secrecy is often driven by fear. You hide because you are ashamed, because you expect attack, or because you are doing something dishonest. Privacy is different. Privacy is a boundary. You are not hiding the truth. You are protecting unfinished work from attention it does not yet need. A builder does not invite the public to judge a house when only the foundation has been poured. At that stage, the building looks incomplete because it is incomplete. The walls are missing. The rooms cannot be used. The beauty is still hidden inside a plan. Judging it too early would be pointless. Your life also has stages that look unimpressive from the outside. The hour you spend learning a basic skill does not look powerful. The money you quietly save each week does not look like freedom. The early morning walk does not look like a transformed body. The page you write today does not look like a finished book. But these small acts are the foundation. The final result will stand only because the invisible part was built correctly. Most people want to display the roof before they have finished the foundation. They want the title before the ability. They want the image before the substance. They want the public identity before the private discipline. This creates a painful gap between how they appear and who they actually are. Maintaining that image uses energy that should have been used to grow. When you stop performing your future for other people, you recover that energy. You no longer need to answer constant questions. You do not need to explain why progress is taking time. You do not need to defend every change in direction. You do not need to make your plan sound impressive. You can be honest about what is working and what is not, because nobody is watching you protect an image. That honesty makes improvement faster. Suppose you tell everyone that you are going to wake up at 5 every morning. For the first few days, you may force yourself to do it because you do not want to look inconsistent. But perhaps 5 is not the right time for your schedule. Perhaps the real goal is simply to create one uninterrupted hour before work. If your identity has become tied to the announcement, you may continue using a bad system just to avoid admitting that the plan changed. When the work is private, you can adjust without embarrassment. You can move the hour. You can test a different routine. You can make the plan serve the goal instead of making the goal serve your public image. Quiet work gives you freedom to be a beginner. Beginners need room to make poor attempts. They need to ask simple questions. They need to repeat basic exercises. They need to discover what they misunderstood. This stage is uncomfortable enough without an audience. If you are constantly trying to look capable, you will avoid the very mistakes that teach you how to become capable. Pride wants to appear advanced. Growth is willing to look unskilled for a while. Think about any person you admire for excellence. You see the performance, the company, the strength, the confidence, or the finished work. You do not see every confused hour that came before it. You do not see the failed attempts, the private embarrassment, the boring repetition, or the days when they questioned whether the effort would matter. Their visible strength was built during invisible weakness. Your quiet season is not proof that you are behind. It may be proof that you are finally building something real. There is also a practical advantage to keeping a plan private. It becomes easier to measure yourself by evidence. When you talk often, your mind begins to count conversations as activity. You feel busy because you have explained the idea several times. You may spend an evening discussing your future instead of completing one small task that would actually improve it. Replace that habit with a private record. Keep a notebook or a simple document. Write the goal at the top. Beneath it, write the next physical action, not the entire dream, not a long speech about why it matters. Write the next action that can be completed. Read 10 pages, send the application, practice for 30 minutes, save the first amount, create the first draft, call the supplier, walk for 20 minutes. At the end of the day, do not ask, "Did I feel motivated?" Ask, "What did I finish?" Feelings change quickly. Finished work does not. A written record teaches you to respect proof. It shows you where you are consistent and where you are only hopeful. It helps you see patterns that memory hides. You may discover that you work well in the morning, that your phone destroys your concentration, or that you regularly avoid one specific type of task. That information is more useful than praise because it tells you what to improve. You should also protect your dream from your own need to explain it. Sometimes the audience is not the problem. Sometimes you keep talking because you are trying to convince yourself. You repeat the plan because saying it makes it feel more real. But a plan becomes real through contact with reality. It becomes real when you make the first sale, complete the first week, finish the first draft, or develop the skill enough to create value. Do not use language as a replacement for evidence. You are allowed to believe in yourself before the result arrives. In fact, you must. But belief should lead to behavior. Otherwise, it becomes fantasy. Real belief wakes up and works. Real belief studies what it does not know. Real belief accepts correction. Real belief does not need to repeat itself all day. There will be moments when staying quiet feels lonely. You may wish someone understood how serious you are. You may want people to notice the sacrifice. You may feel tempted to post an update simply so the effort feels seen. In those moments, remember what you are protecting. You are protecting your attention from becoming a performance. You are protecting your emotions from reactions you cannot control. You are protecting your schedule from unnecessary conversation. Most of all, you are protecting the relationship between you and the promise you made to yourself. That relationship matters more than public excitement. Every time you quietly complete what you said you would do, you strengthen trust in yourself. Your mind begins to understand that your decisions have weight. You stop needing someone else to confirm that you are serious because your actions confirm it every day. This is how private discipline becomes public confidence. Confidence is not built by telling people you will succeed. It is built by watching yourself continue when no one is checking. It grows when you complete the workout after a tiring day, return to the project after a mistake, study when entertainment would be easier, and keep your standard even when nobody would know if you lowered it. Those private moments change your identity. You move from being a person with a goal to being a person with a practice. A goal is something you want. A practice is something you do. The world is full of people who want. Results belong to people who repeatedly do. For the next 30 days, try a simple experiment. Choose one important goal and stop giving casual updates about it. Do not announce every step. Do not search for praise. Share only with people whose input is genuinely needed. Each day, complete one action and record it. At the end of the 30 days, compare how much energy you spent working with how much energy you usually spend explaining. You may be surprised by the peace that appears. Silence removes the pressure to look successful. It allows you to become successful. Your dream does not need to be defended while it is still learning how to stand. Give it roots, give it structure, give it enough repeated effort that another person's opinion can no longer decide whether it survives. There will be a time to speak. There will be a time to launch, publish, present, apply, sell, compete, or reveal what you created. Quiet work is not permanent hiding. It is preparation for a stronger entrance. Until then, protect the dream, not because it is small, but because it may become large. Not because you lack confidence, but because you are building confidence from evidence. Not because you fear the world, but because the world can wait until the work is ready. Let people wonder what you are doing. Your responsibility is not to satisfy their curiosity. Your responsibility is to become the person who can carry the result you are asking for. Chapter 2. Stop spending your strength on explanations. Every explanation has a cost. It may cost only a minute, but the real cost is not measured by the clock. It is measured by the attention you lose, the emotion you spend, and the mental space the conversation continues to occupy after it ends. You explain the plan, then you think about how the person reacted. You replay their questions. You prepare answers for the next time they ask. You wonder whether they believe in you. You imagine proving them wrong. A 5-minute conversation can live in your head for 5 days. That is energy your work never received. People often assume that talking is harmless because it does not feel difficult, but repeated explanation can exhaust you in a quiet way. Each time you describe your goal, you organize the story, defend the reason, and manage the listener's response. If they doubt you, you may become frustrated. If they praise you, you may become distracted by the pleasure. If they misunderstand you, you may feel a need to correct them. None of this builds the result. The habit of explaining becomes especially expensive when you are changing your life. Change already requires more attention than routine. You are learning new behavior, resisting old patterns, and making decisions without full certainty. Your mind needs clean space. When you fill that space with other people's reactions, the change becomes heavier than it needs to be. You do not owe everyone a detailed map of where you are going. This does not mean becoming rude. It does not mean refusing every question or acting as if you are more important than other people. It means learning to give a simple answer without opening your entire future for discussion. I am working on a few things. I will share more when it is ready. I am still testing the idea. I am focused on the next step right now. These answers are honest. They also protect your time. Many people over-explain because they are uncomfortable with being misunderstood. They want everyone to see the logic of their decisions. They want family members to approve, friends to agree, and strangers to recognize that the plan makes sense. This desire is understandable, but it is impossible to satisfy. No explanation can control another person's mind. You can present your reasons perfectly and still be misunderstood. You can show evidence and still be doubted. You can speak calmly and still be judged. At some point, you must decide whether your life will be guided by your values or by the endless task of managing how other people interpret you. A mature person accepts that some misunderstandings are not emergencies. You do not need to correct every wrong assumption. You do not need to answer every careless comment. You do not need to win every argument about a future that only you are responsible for building. Sometimes silence is not weakness. It is the decision to stop wasting strength on a conversation that cannot improve your next action. Imagine two people with the same goal. Both want to build a new source of income. The first person spends hours researching, practicing, testing, and improving. They speak to a small number of useful people and keep the rest private. The second person spends hours telling friends about the idea, arguing with doubters, watching motivational content, and changing the plan after every opinion. After 1 month, the second person may have spoken more confidently. The first person will probably have learned more. After 6 months, the difference becomes visible. The first person has data. They know what customers respond to. They have made mistakes and corrected them. They have a system that is slowly becoming reliable. The second person still has a story about what they are going to do. This is the difference between using words to describe progress and using action to create it. Words are useful when they direct action, a clear instruction, a serious conversation, a request for expert feedback, or a written plan can all move work forward. The problem is not speech itself. The problem is speech that replaces execution. Ask yourself how often you talk about a task before beginning it. You may tell someone that you need to clean the room, answer an email, begin exercising, study a course, or fix a financial problem. The conversation gives your mind a small release. You have named the responsibility, so it feels partly handled. But it is not handled. It is still waiting. Train yourself to shorten the distance between decision and action. When you say, "I need to do this," take the first physical step immediately whenever possible. Open the document. Put on the shoes. Clear the desk. Make the call. Write the first sentence. Transfer the money. Set the appointment. A small action interrupts the habit of living through intention. It tells your brain that decisions are followed by movement. This is one of the simplest ways to build self-respect. Many people think self-respect comes from positive thoughts. Positive thoughts can help, but your mind trusts evidence more than slogans. If you repeatedly say you will act and then delay, your confidence weakens. You begin to doubt your own promises because experience has taught you that they are unreliable. When you act quickly on important decisions, that pattern begins to change. You learn that your words have weight. You do not need to speak loudly because you know you follow through. Quiet people are often powerful for this reason. They are not silent because they have nothing to say. They are selective because they understand that a promise should be connected to action. There is another form of explanation that steals energy: defending your pace. Meaningful work often takes longer than outsiders expect. People see a simple result and assume the process should be simple. They do not see the planning, learning, testing, correction, and waiting behind it. If you allow every question about timing to disturb you, you may rush work that needs patience. Why is it taking so long? When are you finally going to launch? Shouldn't you be further ahead by now? These questions can create shame even when you are making reasonable progress. You begin comparing the reality of your process with another person's imaginary schedule. Then you may release work too early, abandon a useful method, or change direction simply to create the appearance of movement. Do not let curiosity become your deadline. A deadline should serve the work. It should create structure, prevent endless delay, and help you finish. It should not be created only to stop people from asking questions. You must learn the difference between healthy accountability and unnecessary pressure. Healthy accountability comes from someone who understands the goal, knows the standard, and helps you act. They ask useful questions. They notice excuses. They help you solve problems. Unnecessary pressure comes from people who want updates but carry no responsibility for the outcome. They consume information without improving the work. Not everyone who asks deserves access. That sentence may feel uncomfortable, especially if you are used to being available to everyone. But access to your thoughts, plans, and emotional energy is not a public right. It is something you manage. The more important the work, the more carefully you should manage it. Consider your attention like money. You would not hand small amounts to every person who asked until nothing remained for your needs. Yet people do this with attention every day. They give it to notifications, gossip, arguments, explanations, and comparisons. At the end of the day, They say they had no time for the goal. Often they had time, but their attention was spent before they reached it. Time without attention is not useful. You can sit at a desk for 3 hours and produce almost nothing if your mind is still arguing with someone, checking reactions, or thinking about how the result will look. Quiet work requires more than physical isolation. It requires emotional separation from the audience you have imagined. Stop working for the reaction. Work for the standard. A reaction is temporary. A standard can guide you for years. When you work for reactions, you make choices that are easy to notice. You may choose dramatic action over useful action. You may share early progress because it looks impressive. You may avoid basic practice because it feels too small to post. You may focus on appearing busy rather than becoming effective. When you work for a standard, your choices change. You repeat the boring exercise. You correct the weak section. You study the detail no one else will see. You delay the announcement because the work is not ready. You value quality even when it receives no immediate attention. This is how substance is built. Many people struggle with silence because silence removes external motivation. When nobody knows what you are doing, nobody is waiting to praise you. You must create a reason to continue from within. At first, this may feel less exciting. Over time, it becomes more stable. External motivation rises and falls with attention. Internal commitment is connected to meaning. Ask yourself why the goal matters when no one is watching. Does it give your family greater security? Does it allow you to respect your abilities? Does it solve a problem you care about? Does it create freedom, health, knowledge, or service? A reason that remains meaningful in private is stronger than a reason built only on public admiration. You should also examine the conversations around you. Some environments reward talk more than action. People gather and describe everything they are going to do. They compete through ambition, not achievement. They speak about opportunities, plans, and future success, but nobody returns with finished work. If you spend enough time in that environment, talking begins to feel normal. Doing becomes optional. You do not need to abandon every person in your life, but you may need to change how you participate. Listen less to empty prediction. Share less of your own unfinished intention. Move the conversation toward practical action, or leave it early and use the time. Your circle does not need to be large. It needs to be useful, honest, and grounded. A useful person will not be impressed by a plan alone. They may say, "That is interesting. What have you tested?" They bring you back to reality. They do not feed fantasy. They respect effort, ask for evidence, and help you see what needs improvement. That kind of relationship strengthens quiet growth. Another reason people over-explain is fear of looking inactive. In a world where everyone displays movement, silence can feel like disappearance. You may worry that people will forget you, assume you failed, or believe you are doing nothing. Let them. Being underestimated can be peaceful. It removes expectations. It gives you space to learn. It allows you to change direction without public embarrassment. While others are measuring your appearance, you can improve your ability. There is no prize for looking successful before you are ready. In fact, appearing successful too early can trap you. Once people see you in a certain way, you may feel pressure to maintain the image. You stop asking beginner questions. You hide problems. You avoid honest feedback. You protect the appearance instead of strengthening the foundation. Choose the freedom of being unfinished. Say less. Learn more. Promise less. Complete more. Explain less. Observe more. This is not a performance of mystery. Do not become the person who constantly says, "I have big things coming," while refusing to give details. That is still an announcement. It is attention-seeking disguised as privacy. Real silence does not hint. It works. You do not need to make people curious. You need to make yourself consistent. Build a simple rule for your life. Never spend more energy describing a task than completing the next step of it. If you have talked about writing for an hour, write for at least an hour. If you have discussed fitness, train. If you have explained a business idea, test it. If you have complained about a problem, take one action towards solving it. This rule exposes empty conversation quickly. It turns speech into responsibility. At the end of each day, review where your energy went. Do not only count hours, notice emotional spending. Which conversation stayed in your mind? Which opinion made you question yourself? Which explanation could have been avoided? Which action moved the goal forward? The purpose is not to become cold or silent in every part of life. Human connection matters. Sharing joy, asking for support, and speaking honestly are important. The lesson is to stop using connection as an excuse to avoid the work only you can do. Nobody can focus for you. Nobody can practice for you. Nobody can build your discipline for you. Nobody can finish the goal through conversation. There comes a point when the phone must be placed away, the room must become quiet, and the work must begin. That point should arrive earlier in your day. Protect your best hours from explanations. Give them to creation. Let the world receive your answer in the form of something finished. You will discover that you have more energy than you thought. The energy was not missing. It was being scattered across conversations that could not carry your future. Gather it back. Put it into the skill. Put it into the routine. Put it into the difficult part you keep avoiding. Let other people have their opinions. You have work to do. Chapter 3. Build a private system that keeps you moving. A dream becomes dependable when it enters a system. Until then, it lives mostly in your mind. You may care about it deeply. You may think about it every day. You may even be willing to sacrifice for it. But desire alone is not organized enough to carry you through tired mornings, difficult weeks, and long periods without visible reward. A system gives the dream a place in your real life. It answers simple questions. When will you work? Where will you work? What will you do first? How will you know whether you made progress? What will happen when motivation is low? These questions are not exciting, but they decide whether the goal survives. People often announce goals because the announcement gives the goal a temporary sense of structure. Once others know, the plan feels official. But public attention is a weak structure. It depends on emotion. A private system is stronger because it turns intention into repeated behavior. Suppose you want to become a better writer. Saying, "I am writing a book," may feel powerful, but it does not tell you what to do at 7 tomorrow morning. A system does. It may say, sit at the desk at 7, keep the phone in another room, write 500 words before opening email, record the total, stop at 8. That system is not impressive, it is effective. Success is often less dramatic than people imagine. It is usually a collection of clear actions performed often enough to create skill, volume, and trust. The public sees the result as one event. The person who built it knows it was created through hundreds of ordinary appointments with the work. The first part of a private system is choosing a small number of priorities. Many people fail quietly because they are trying to improve everything at once. They want to build a business, learn a language, transform their body, read 50 books, repair every relationship, and become financially secure at the same time. Each goal may be valuable, but the mind cannot give deep attention to all of them every day. Too many goals create the appearance of ambition and the experience of confusion. Choose one main project for the season you are in. Other responsibilities will remain, but one result should receive your clearest energy. This does not mean abandoning the rest of your life. It means refusing to divide your strongest attention into pieces too small to create momentum. Ask yourself which result would make the greatest difference over the next 3 months, not which goal sounds most impressive, not which one would create the best reaction. Which result would actually improve your life, ability, or future options? Once you choose it, give it a fixed place in your week. A goal that has no time on the calendar is usually a wish. You may intend to work whenever you are free, but free time is quickly claimed by easier things. Messages arrive, small requests appear, entertainment fills the empty spaces. By the end of the week, the goal receives whatever energy remains. Important work should not survive on leftovers. Place it where your attention is strongest. For many people, that means before the day becomes noisy. For others, it may be a protected evening period. The exact hour matters less than the consistency. Your mind learns through repetition. When you return to the same work at the same time, resistance begins to decrease. You no longer negotiate with yourself every day. Negotiation is exhausting. Should I work now? Maybe later. Am I in the right mood? Do I have enough time? Should I start tomorrow instead? A fixed routine removes these questions. The time arrives, and you begin. This is why disciplined people often look calm. They are not making a heroic decision every morning. Many decisions were made in advance. A useful system also makes the first step obvious. People lose time because they sit down with a large goal and no clear entry point. Work on the business is too vague. Improve my health is too vague. Study more is too vague. The brain resists unclear tasks because it cannot see where action begins. Before ending each work session, write the exact next step for the following session. Open the document and revise the first 2 pages. Call the 3 suppliers on the list. Complete lesson 4 and answer the exercises. Walk the planned route for 30 minutes. Review last month's spending and cancel one unnecessary cost. Clarity lowers resistance. When you return, you do not need to rebuild the entire plan in your mind. You begin where you stopped. The second part of a private system is measuring what you control. People often measure the wrong things. They watch views, praise, sales, invitations, or approval. These results matter, but they are not fully under your control. When you measure only outcomes, quiet periods can make you feel powerless. Measure the actions that create the outcome. How many focused sessions did you complete? How many pages did you write? How many applications did you send? How many times did you practice the skill? How much did you save? How many days did you follow the routine? These numbers tell you whether you are keeping your side of the agreement. An outcome can be delayed even when the process is improving. A business may take time to find customers. A body may take time to show change. A skill may feel awkward before it becomes natural. If you judge yourself only by visible reward, you may quit during the exact period when your ability is growing beneath the surface. Process measures protect patience. They give you evidence that the work is happening even before the world responds. However, measurement should not become another form of performance. You do not need to display every record. The purpose is not to prove your discipline to others. It is to tell yourself the truth. A private scoreboard is powerful because it cannot be improved through storytelling. Either you completed the session or you did not. Either the page exists or it does not. Either the money was saved or it was spent. This honesty may feel uncomfortable, but it creates freedom. Once you see reality clearly, you can improve it. The third part of a system is making good action easier. People often depend on willpower while keeping every distraction close. They place the phone beside the notebook, keep entertainment open on the computer, work in a noisy room, and expect the mind to ignore everything through strength alone. Then they blame themselves when focus breaks. Discipline matters, but environment matters too. Make the desired action simple to begin. Prepare the desk the night before. Put the book where you will see it. Lay out the clothes. Keep the needed files open. Remove unnecessary applications. Charge the phone outside the room. Decide the first task before you sleep. Every small barrier you remove saves a decision. At the same time, make distraction harder. Log out of the account. Turn off alerts. Keep the remote away. Use a separate space for work if possible. Tell people when you are unavailable. These steps may seem too basic to matter, but behavior often follows the easiest path. You do not need to prove that you can resist temptation while holding it in your hand. You need to create conditions that help you complete the work. A strong private system also includes rest. Some people here work quietly and imagine endless pressure. They believe every free moment should be productive and every pause is weakness. That approach does not create lasting success. It creates exhaustion, resentment, and careless work. Rest is not the opposite of discipline. Planned rest supports discipline. The important difference is between rest and escape. Rest has a boundary and a purpose. You stop, recover, and return. Escape avoids the responsibility and hopes the discomfort disappears. One restores your ability, the other weakens your trust in yourself. Decide when the work ends. Sleep enough to think clearly. Move your body. Spend time with people you care about. Allow your mind to leave the project. A system that destroys your health or relationships is not successful simply because it produces output. Quiet growth should make your life stronger, not narrower. The fourth part of a system is planning for bad days. Most routines are designed by an optimistic version of you. That version has energy, time, and perfect conditions. But the system must also serve the tired version, the discouraged version, and the version dealing with unexpected problems. Create a minimum action. Your normal session may be 1 hour. Your minimum may be 10 minutes. Your normal target may be 1,000 words. Your minimum may be 100. Your normal workout may be 45 minutes. Your minimum may be a short walk and basic movement. The minimum is not the new standard. It is the bridge that keeps the identity alive during difficult days. When people miss one perfect session, they often abandon the whole routine. They think, the day is already ruined, and allow one interruption to become a week of delay. A minimum action prevents that collapse. It reminds you that consistency is not the absence of difficulty. It is the decision to maintain connection with the goal, even when capacity is lower. You are not trying to win every day in a dramatic way. You are trying to avoid disappearing from the work. The fifth part of a system is regular review. Quiet work does not mean blind repetition. You should not continue a weak method simply because you are proud of your consistency. A system must learn. Once a week, look at what happened. What did you complete? Where did you lose time? Which part produced the most value? Which task did you avoid? What needs to change next week? Do not turn the review into self-attack. Shame gives you heat but little information. Be direct without becoming cruel. Perhaps you planned too much. Perhaps the task was unclear. Perhaps your phone remained too close. Perhaps you were working at the wrong time of day. Perhaps you need help with a skill instead of more motivation. The purpose of review is correction. A quiet builder does not defend a broken method, they improve it. You may discover that much of your struggle comes from trying to copy someone else's system. You watched a successful person wake at 4, work for 6 hours, or follow a strict routine, and assumed the same structure would create the same result for you. But systems must fit real lives. A parent, student, employee, business owner, and full-time creator have different limits. Your schedule, energy, health, responsibilities, and resources matter. The principle is consistency, not imitation. Build a routine you can repeat. A smaller system used for a year will create more than an extreme system abandoned after 10 days. This is where patience becomes practical. People love intense beginnings because they feel like transformation. They change everything at once. They create a schedule with no room for weakness. For a few days, they feel unstoppable. Then normal life returns, the plan breaks, and they assume they lack discipline. Often the problem was not discipline, the system was impossible. Quiet growth respects sustainability. It asks, can I still do this when the excitement is gone? That question protects you from building a life that depends on constant emotional force. A private system also reduces your need for motivation. Motivation is welcome when it appears, but it is unreliable. It changes with sleep, weather, stress, praise, and progress. If action requires the right feeling, your future becomes controlled by conditions. A system lets behavior begin before emotion agrees. You sit down because it is time. You start with the first step. After a few minutes, the mind often becomes more willing. Motion creates energy. Clarity creates interest. Progress creates motivation that waiting could not produce. This is one of the great secrets of consistent people. They do not always feel ready. They have simply learned that readiness often arrives after beginning. Your system should remain mostly invisible. Not because it is mysterious, but because it is ordinary. Nobody needs to watch you prepare tomorrow's task, review the week, block a distracting website, or complete the minimum action. These decisions are too small to attract attention. Together, they become too powerful to ignore. One day, people may ask how you changed so much. They will expect one dramatic answer. The honest answer will be less exciting. You chose a few priorities. You gave them time. You reduced distraction. You tracked the work. You corrected the system. You continued through ordinary days. That is how most real transformation happens. Do not wait for a perfect plan. Build a simple one and improve it through use. A system cannot be designed entirely in your imagination. Reality will teach you where it is weak. Begin, observe, adjust, and continue. Your private system is the bridge between the person you are and the person you are becoming. Protect it from unnecessary opinion. Respect it even when it feels boring. Return to it after setbacks. Let it carry you on the days when inspiration is absent. A loud promise may impress people once. A quiet system can change your life every day. Chapter 4. Train your attention in a world that wants to steal it. Your attention is one of the most valuable things you own. It decides what enters your mind, what receives your effort, what becomes a habit, and what eventually becomes your life. Yet many people protect their money more carefully than they protect their attention. They would never hand their wallet to every stranger, but they allow every notification, opinion, video, argument, and request to enter the mind without permission. Then they wonder why they cannot focus. Focus is not simply the ability to stare at a task. It is the ability to choose where your mind goes and repeatedly bring it back when something tries to pull it away. That last part matters. Your attention will wander. You will notice sounds, thoughts, discomfort, messages, and other responsibilities. The goal is not to become a machine that never gets distracted. The goal is to shorten the time between distraction and return. Every return is a repetition of focus. Think of it like physical training. A muscle grows because it works against resistance. Attention grows when you notice that the mind has left and calmly bring it back. The interruption is not proof that you failed. The return is the exercise. Many people damage focus by expecting it to feel effortless. The moment work becomes uncomfortable, they assume something is wrong. They check the phone, change the music, open another tab, or begin a different task. This teaches the brain an unfortunate lesson. Discomfort means escape. Deep work requires the opposite lesson. Discomfort can mean stay. Sometimes the task is difficult because you are learning. Sometimes you do not know the answer yet. Sometimes the work is repetitive. Sometimes fear appears because the result matters. None of these feelings require an immediate exit. When you want to leave, remain for 5 more minutes. Do not promise yourself 3 more hours. 5 minutes is enough to weaken the automatic escape. During that time, identify the exact difficulty. Is the task unclear? Do you lack information? Are you afraid the work will be poor? Are you physically tired? A named problem is easier to solve than a general feeling of resistance. Focus improves when tasks are clear. Work on the project gives the mind too much space to avoid. Write the opening paragraph. Review the first 10 records, or practice the first exercise 3 times. creates a visible target. The brain can enter a clear action more easily than a vague responsibility. Before a focused session, decide what finished will mean. It may mean 30 minutes without switching tasks. It may mean completing a specific section. It may mean solving one problem. A defined finish line gives the session shape. Without one, the work can feel endless, and endless work creates resistance. Your environment should also send a clear message. When the same space is used for work, entertainment, eating, and constant conversation, the mind receives mixed signals. You may not have a separate office, but you can still create a work condition. Clear one part of the table. Use the same chair. Place only the needed materials in front of you. Put the phone beyond reach. Begin with the same small ritual. The ritual may be simple. Fill a glass of water, open the notebook, set a timer, and write the first line. Repetition tells the brain, this is where we focus. Do not underestimate visual noise. Every object in front of you is a small invitation. A pile of papers reminds you of another responsibility. An open message creates a social question. A second device offers entertainment. A cluttered screen asks the eyes to choose repeatedly. Each invitation may be weak, but together they create mental friction. Remove what the current task does not need. Focus is often built through subtraction before it is built through effort. One of the greatest enemies of attention is task switching. People call it multitasking, but the mind is usually moving rapidly between activities. You read a sentence, answer a message, return to the sentence, check a notification, remember another task, open a new tab, and then try to recover the original thought. This feels active because the mind is constantly moving. But movement is not depth. Every switch leaves a small part of your attention attached to the previous task. You may return physically, but mentally you are still thinking about the reply, the headline, or the unfinished question. The work becomes slower and more tiring because your brain repeatedly rebuilds context. Choose one task and allow it to be the only task for a defined period. 25 minutes is enough to begin. During that period, keep a small piece of paper nearby. If another responsibility enters your mind, write it down instead of acting on it. This reassures the brain that the thought will not be forgotten. Then return. At the end of the session, take a real break. Stand, stretch, breathe, or walk. Do not automatically fill the break with more digital input. A mind that receives stimulation during every pause never fully resets. Your phone deserves special attention because it is designed to become part of your thinking. It is not only a tool you use, it is a doorway through which hundreds of people, companies, and systems compete for your awareness. Each alert says, "This matters now." Most of them do not. Turn off anything that does not require immediate response. Keep the device out of sight during important work. Sight matters because the brain remembers the possibility of reward, even when the screen is dark. If the phone is beside you, part of your mind remains available to it. Do not depend on discipline when distance can solve the problem. Place it in another room. Use a simple clock or timer. Tell important people how to reach you in a true emergency. Then experience what your mind can do when it is not waiting to be interrupted. At first, the silence may feel uncomfortable. You may reach for the device without thinking. This shows how deeply the habit has entered your body. Do not judge yourself. Notice the movement and return to the work. Awareness breaks automatic behavior. Focus also depends on your physical state. A tired brain is more attracted to easy reward. Hunger, poor sleep, dehydration, and long periods without movement all reduce the ability to stay with difficult thinking. People sometimes search for complex productivity methods while ignoring the basic condition of the body doing the work. Sleep is not lost time. It supports memory, judgment, emotional control, and learning. Movement is not separate from mental performance. A short walk can clear the mind and restore energy. Food and water do not solve every focus problem, but neglecting them creates problems that motivation cannot repair. Respect the instrument you are using. Your attention also has natural rhythms. Few people can perform demanding mental work with the same quality for 12 hours. Notice when you think most clearly. Protect that period for work that requires creativity, judgment, or learning. Use lower energy periods for routine tasks. This is not laziness, it is intelligent placement. An hour of clear attention may create more than 3 hours of tired effort. The goal is not to collect the largest number of working hours, it is to produce meaningful progress without destroying your ability to return tomorrow. A focused life also requires saying no. Every yes gives away a part of your future time. Some commitments are necessary and meaningful. Others are accepted because you fear disappointing people, appearing unhelpful, or missing an opportunity. Too many yeses turn your own priorities into the least protected part of the schedule. Before accepting something, ask what it will replace. Time is already full. A new commitment does not create new hours. It pushes something else aside. Perhaps it replaces rest, family, health, or the quiet project you say matters most. When you see the true cost, decisions become clearer. You do not need to reject people harshly. A simple, respectful answer is enough. I cannot take that on right now. I am committed to another priority. I do not have the capacity to do it well. Clear boundaries protect both your work and your honesty. Focus is not only about work. It improves conversation, learning, and relationships. When someone speaks, give them full attention instead of preparing your answer while they are talking. When you read, stay with the page instead of checking the phone every few minutes. When you rest, allow yourself to rest instead of mentally carrying 10 unfinished tasks. A divided mind weakens every experience. A present mind makes ordinary moments deeper. You may notice that some distractions come from inside rather than outside. Worry, resentment, and imagined conversations can interrupt more powerfully than any notification. You sit in a quiet room, but your mind is arguing with someone who is not there. In those moments, do not fight the thought with more thought. Write it down. Name the concern. Decide whether action is possible now. If action is possible, schedule it. If no action is possible, remind yourself that thinking about it during this session will not solve it. Then return. The return is always the practice. Another internal distraction is the fantasy of future recognition. You imagine the applause, money, admiration, or surprise your result will create. This may feel motivating, but it can also remove you from the current task. You begin experiencing the reward in your imagination while avoiding the difficult step in front of you. Bring the goal back to the present. What does success require in the next 10 minutes? Not next year, not after the launch, not when everyone finally understands. What must be done now? Focus lives in that question. You should also create a shutdown practice at the end of the day. Unfinished work often follows you because the mind does not know where it will resume. Before stopping, review what you completed and write the next step. Close the materials, set the time you will return. This gives the mind permission to release the task. Without a clear stopping point, you may remain half at work and half at rest. You do not produce, but you do not recover either. A boundary improves both sides. Do not measure focus by perfection. Some sessions will be strong, others will be scattered. The important question is whether you are becoming more aware and returning more quickly. Perhaps last month you lost an hour after one notification. Today you returned in 5 minutes. That is progress. Perhaps you once avoided difficult work for days. Today you stayed with the discomfort long enough to solve one part. That is progress. Perhaps you could focus for only 15 minutes. Now you can work for 40. That is progress. Attention strengthens quietly. Nobody applauds when you close a tab, place the phone away, or return to a sentence. But these invisible decisions determine the quality of everything you build. The person who can direct attention can learn faster, work better, listen more deeply, and recover more fully. In a distracted world, that ability becomes a serious advantage. Do not announce that you are becoming focused. Create a room, a time, a task, and a boundary. Then practice returning until your attention learns where it belongs. Chapter 5. Turn doubt into proof through action. Doubt grows in empty space. When you are standing still, the mind has room to invent problems. It imagines failure, rejection, embarrassment, and regret. It takes one uncertain step and turns it into an entire story about everything that could go wrong. Action interrupts that story. The moment you begin, imagination is forced to meet reality. Some fears disappear because they were never true. Other fears become specific problems that can be solved. You stop asking, "What if I cannot do this?" and begin asking, "What is the next part one need to learn?" That change is the beginning of confidence. Many people wait to feel confident before they act. They assume confidence is a starting condition, something they must collect before taking the first step. But confidence is usually a result. It is built from memory. You remember that you began before, survived difficulty, learned from mistakes, and found a way forward. Without action, the mind has no evidence. It may have hope, it may have encouragement, it may have positive words, but evidence is different. Evidence says, "I did not know how to do this, and I learned." Evidence says, "I was afraid, and I still completed the task." Evidence says, "The first attempt was poor, but the fifth was better." Your mind trusts that record. This is why small completed actions are more valuable than large promises. A promise describes a future identity. A completed action begins to create one. You do not become disciplined by saying discipline matters. You become disciplined each time you act according to a decision instead of a mood. You do not become brave by waiting for fear to disappear. You become brave each time fear is present and does not control your next move. You do not become skilled by imagining excellent performance. You become skilled by producing imperfect work, studying the result, and trying again. Doubt often sounds intelligent. It asks serious questions. What if the plan fails? What if people reject it? What if I waste time? What if someone else is better? These questions can feel like careful thinking, but sometimes they are simply fear wearing the clothes of logic. Careful thinking leads to a decision. Fearful thinking repeats the same question without creating movement. Learn to recognize the difference. If a concern is real, write it clearly. Then ask what information or action would reduce it. If you are worried about demand, test the idea with a small group. If you are worried about ability, practice the weakest skill. If you are worried about money, calculate the actual cost. If you are worried about rejection, send one application and receive real information. Reality is often kinder than endless imagination. Even when reality is difficult, it gives you something useful. A rejection tells you the current approach did not work. A poor result shows where ability needs improvement. A failed attempt reveals a condition you did not understand. These experiences may hurt, but they teach. Repeated worry teaches nothing. One of the most effective ways to weaken doubt is to reduce the size of the first step. Large goals make the mind think about distance. You see the entire book, the entire business, the entire transformation, or the entire year of work. The size creates pressure. Then you delay because you cannot complete the whole journey today. You do not need to complete the journey today. You need to create movement. Write one page, walk for 10 minutes, study one lesson, send one message, save one amount, practice one difficult part. A small step may look weak, but it changes your position. You are no longer only thinking about the goal, you are in contact with it. Contact creates information. Information improves the next step. The next step creates momentum. Momentum makes action feel more natural. This is how large change begins without drama. Doubt also becomes stronger when you compare your beginning with another person's middle. You see their confidence, speed, audience, income, or skill, and forget that you are looking at years of visible and invisible practice. You judge your first month against their 10th year and use the difference as proof that you cannot succeed. That comparison is dishonest. It removes time from their story and possibility from yours. Compare yourself with a more useful person, the person you were before you began. Can you understand something today that confused you last month? Can you complete a task faster? Are you less afraid of the first attempt? Have you become more consistent? Do you recover from mistakes more quickly? These changes may be small, but they are evidence of direction. Direction matters more than appearance. A person moving slowly in the right direction will eventually pass a person who talks quickly but remains in the same place. Keep a record of proof. Most people remember embarrassment more strongly than progress. One mistake may stay in the mind for years, while 100 quiet victories are forgotten. This creates a false picture of your ability. You begin to believe you always fail because failure was emotionally louder. Create a written list of difficult things you have already learned or survived. Include ordinary examples. The first time you handled a responsibility alone, the habit you once thought you could not build, the conversation you were afraid to have, the problem you solved after several attempts, the skill that now feels normal but once felt impossible. Read the list when doubt says you never change. You have evidence that you do. Confidence should not become arrogance. Evidence does not mean every future attempt will succeed. It means you have the ability to respond. You can learn, adjust, ask for help, start again, and become better through experience. Real confidence is not, nothing will go wrong. Real confidence is, when something goes wrong, I will not abandon myself. That belief is much stronger because life will always contain uncertainty. No amount of planning can remove every risk. You can prepare carefully and still meet a problem you did not expect. If your confidence depends on perfect conditions, it will collapse quickly. Build confidence in your response, not in your ability to control everything. You can control whether you prepare. You can control whether you tell the truth about the result. You can control whether you learn from the mistake. You can control whether you return tomorrow. These choices create stability inside uncertain situations. Another source of doubt is broken promises to yourself. You decide to begin on Monday. Monday arrives and you delay. You promise to complete the task at night, but entertainment takes the time. You make a new plan, then abandon it again. Each broken promise becomes evidence, but it is evidence against your own reliability. Eventually, your mind stops believing your intentions. This is why you should make smaller promises and keep them. Do not promise 2 hours if you repeatedly avoid 20 minutes. Promise 20 minutes and protect them. Do not promise a complete transformation in 1 month. Promise one clear habit for 30 days. Do not create a dramatic plan to impress yourself. Create a realistic agreement you can honor. Self-trust grows through kept agreements. Every time you do what you said you would do, your mind learns that your decisions matter. The action may be small, but the identity being built is large. You become someone who follows through. When you miss, do not use the mistake as permission to disappear. Return quickly. People often think consistency means never breaking the routine. That is unrealistic. Illness, emergencies, travel, exhaustion, and unexpected responsibilities will interrupt you. The important skill is not perfect continuation. It is fast recovery. 1 missed day is an event. 7 missed days may become a new pattern. Return before the interruption begins to define you. Do not waste 3 days feeling guilty about 1 day of failure. Guilt can feel like responsibility, but if it delays action, it becomes another form of avoidance. Learn the lesson, reduce the cause, and complete the next useful step. Doubt also hides inside perfectionism. You may tell yourself you are waiting until the idea is clearer, the equipment is better, the schedule is open, or your skill is stronger. Some preparation is necessary, but perfectionism keeps moving the starting line. Every time you approach it, another requirement appears. Ask what is truly required to begin safely and responsibly. Then begin with what you have. Your first version is not supposed to prove your final ability. It is supposed to teach you what the second version needs. A beginner who produces imperfect work will learn faster than a perfectionist who protects an imaginary masterpiece. The world cannot give feedback on work you never release. You cannot improve a routine you never test. You cannot build courage around a conversation you never have. Action exposes weakness, but exposure allows correction. Hiding protects the weakness and keeps it unchanged. There will be days when doubt feels heavier because progress is invisible. You are working, but the result has not arrived. During these periods, return to your process measures. Count the sessions, pages, attempts, lessons, or days of practice. Ask whether the method is improving. Ask whether you are learning. Do not demand that every effort produce immediate reward. Some work is planting, some work is watering, some work is strengthening roots. The visible result may appear later. This delay is not always failure. However, silence and patience should not become excuses for avoiding honest evaluation. If you have repeated the same method for a long time without learning or progress, review it. Quiet persistence is powerful. Blind persistence is expensive. Ask for informed feedback. Study the result. Change the approach when evidence requires it. Confidence is not stubbornness. It is the willingness to remain committed to the purpose while improving the method. One practical exercise can help whenever doubt becomes loud. Take a page and create 2 columns. On one side, write what you are assuming. On the other side, write what you actually know. You may assume everyone will reject the idea. What do you know? Perhaps you have not asked anyone yet. You may assume you are not talented enough. What do you know? Perhaps you are inexperienced, not incapable. You may assume it is too late. What do you know? Perhaps the path will be different, but the next step is still available. Separating assumptions from facts reduces emotional fog. Then write one action that can produce new evidence within 24 hours. Doubt wants a complete guarantee. Action offers a useful answer. Choose the answer. There is no final day when you become completely free from uncertainty. Larger goals often create larger questions. As your ability grows, you will enter new rooms where you are a beginner again. This is not a sign that confidence failed. It is a sign that you are still expanding. The aim is not to silence every doubtful thought. The aim is to stop giving doubt authority over your schedule. Let it speak if it must. Then begin the task. Your hands can work while your mind is uncertain. Your feet can move while your emotions are catching up. Courage often looks less like a fearless feeling and more like a person quietly continuing. Do that often enough, and doubt begins to lose credibility. It says, you cannot, but your record says, I have. It says, you will quit, but your routine says, I returned. It says, you are not ready, but your growing skill says, I am becoming ready through use. That is how action turns into proof, and proof turns into a confidence that no speech can give you. Chapter 6. Keep your circle small, honest, and useful. Not everyone deserves a front row seat to your growth. Some people can stand near a dream without damaging it. They listen carefully, ask useful questions, respect your boundaries, and want the work to become better. Others turn every plan into gossip, competition, doubt, or pressure. The difficult truth is that good intentions alone do not make someone a good person to share with. You must choose your circle by effect, not only by history. A person may have known you for years and still be unable to support the person you are becoming. They may only understand the older version of you. When you change, they feel uncomfortable because your growth changes the relationship. They may joke about your effort, remind you of past failures, or pull you back toward habits you are trying to leave. This does not always mean they are cruel. Sometimes your growth confronts them with their own delay. Your discipline makes their excuses harder to ignore. Your new boundaries remove access they once enjoyed. Your ambition changes what they expect from you. You do not need to hate them. You do need to protect the work. A useful circle does not have to agree with everything you say. In fact, constant agreement can be dangerous. You need people who care enough to tell you when the plan is weak, the standard is low, or your pride is blocking improvement. But honesty and discouragement are not the same. Honesty is specific. It points to evidence. It may say, the idea is strong, but the cost is higher than you calculated, or your work has improved, but this section still needs revision. Honest feedback gives you something to examine. Discouragement is often general. It says, you will never make it. That is stupid, or people like you cannot do this. It attacks identity instead of improving action. Learn to hear the difference. Do not reject every uncomfortable comment simply because it hurts. Some truth arrives without soft language. At the same time, do not accept every negative opinion as wisdom. The speaker's experience, motive, and understanding matter. Ask whether the person has earned influence in this area. Would you take financial advice from someone who never manages money well? Would you take health advice from someone who ignores their own health? Would you take creative direction from someone who has never created? Would you allow a person who abandons every difficult goal to decide whether your slow progress is worth continuing? Respect people without giving equal weight to every opinion. This is not arrogance, it is judgment. Your circle should include different kinds of support. One person may understand the emotional difficulty, another may have technical knowledge, another may simply respect your focus and not interrupt it. You do not need one person to provide everything. Problems begin when you share with someone expecting a kind of support they cannot give. You tell a practical person about fear and feel hurt when they offer only solutions. You tell an insecure person about success and feel surprised when they become distant. You tell a careless person private details and feel betrayed when the story spreads. Choose the listener according to the need. Sometimes the best listener is your notebook. Not every emotion requires an audience. Writing can help you separate what you feel from what you should do. It allows you to be honest without immediately inviting advice. After the emotion settles, you can decide whether another person truly needs to be involved. This pause prevents oversharing. Oversharing often happens during excitement, fear, or loneliness. You speak before deciding whether the person is safe, useful, or connected to the outcome. Later, you regret giving away information that cannot be taken back. Create a delay between feeling and sharing. You do not have to announce good news immediately. You do not have to explain every setback while it is still fresh. Give yourself time to understand what happened. Private processing creates clearer decisions. A small circle also protects you from too many methods. Every person will approach the same goal differently. One tells you to move faster, another tells you to wait. One says spend money, another says save. One says follow passion, another says choose security. If you collect advice without a clear standard, you become confused. More advice does not always create more wisdom. Sometimes it creates more noise. Choose a few trusted sources. Test what they say against your values, circumstances, and evidence. Then make a decision and give it enough time to produce information. Changing direction after every conversation prevents any method from working long enough to be judged. Your circle should also respect the difference between support and access. Someone can care about you without knowing every detail. You can love family members and still keep a project private. You can value a friendship and still say, I am not ready to discuss that. Boundaries are not rejection, They are instructions for how to stay connected without damaging what matters. People who respect you may not always like the boundary, but they will learn to live with it. People who only valued access may react more strongly. Their reaction gives you information. Do not explain a boundary until it becomes a debate. State it simply. Repeating your reasons 10 times often teaches people that your boundary is negotiable. I am keeping this private for now. I appreciate your concern, but I have made my decision. I will ask for input if I need it. Then change the subject or end the conversation. A quiet life becomes difficult when you remain surrounded by people who treat silence as an invitation to push harder. You may need more distance. Distance does not always mean a dramatic ending. It can mean fewer updates, shorter conversations, less time in certain environments, and more careful access. Not every relationship needs a confrontation. Some relationships need a new level of information. You should also examine whether you are the kind of person you want in your circle. Do you keep private information private? Can you hear another person's success without making it about yourself? Do you give feedback that helps rather than humiliates? Do you respect a boundary without demanding a reason? Quiet growth requires mutual trust. Become safe for other people's unfinished work. Do not spread their plans for social value. Do not compete with every dream they share. Do not turn their vulnerable beginning into a joke. If they ask for honesty, give it with respect and evidence. The quality of your circle often improves when your own character improves. There is another danger inside groups: shared distraction. Some friendships are built almost entirely around avoiding responsibility together. The group complains, compares, consumes entertainment, and laughs at anyone who becomes serious. As long as everyone remains in the same place, the relationship feels comfortable. The moment one person begins to change, the balance is disturbed. You may hear, "You think you are better now," when all you did was protect an hour for study. You may be called boring because you stopped joining every late night. You may be accused of changing because you no longer participate in the same gossip. They may be right about one thing. You are changing. That is the point. Growth will change how you spend time, what you tolerate, and what you find meaningful. Trying to keep every old pattern while building a new life creates conflict inside you. You do not need to announce that you have outgrown anyone. That statement often creates unnecessary pride and pain. Simply make decisions that match your direction. Let the relationship adjust naturally. Some people will grow with you. Some will respect the distance. Some will leave. Not every loss is a mistake. A small circle can feel lonely at first, especially if you once used constant conversation to avoid being alone with your thoughts. But solitude is not automatically isolation. Solitude can be a workshop. It gives you time to hear your own mind, examine your choices, and work without social performance. Use it well. Do not replace noisy people with endless digital noise. Being physically alone while consuming hundreds of opinions is not mental solitude. Create real quiet. Read, think, write. Practice. Walk. Let your mind become familiar with its own company. The stronger that relationship becomes, the less likely you are to remain in harmful company simply to avoid being alone. You begin choosing connection by quality rather than availability. A useful circle also celebrates completed work without feeding ego. They are happy for you, but they do not allow success to make you careless. They remind you of the habits that created the result. They ask what you learned. They encourage gratitude instead of arrogance. This matters because success can damage focus as easily as failure. After a result, new people may appear. Some are genuinely interested. Others are attracted to access, opportunity, or the image of being close to success. Do not assume attention equals loyalty. Time reveals patterns. Watch how people behave when you have nothing to offer, when you say no, when you are struggling, and when your attention is elsewhere. Trust should grow slowly through consistency. You are not required to become suspicious of everyone. Suspicion can turn privacy into fear. Stay open, but observe. Let people earn deeper access through their behavior. The goal is not to create a life with no one in it. The goal is to create a life where the people near you support truth, discipline, and peace. A strong circle may be only 2 or 3 people. It may include a mentor you speak with occasionally, a friend who respects your goals, and a family member who gives you space. The number does not matter as much as the effect. After spending time with them, do you feel clearer or more confused? More responsible or more full of excuses? More grounded or more desperate to perform? More honest or more concerned with appearance? Your nervous system notices what your pride may ignore. Pay attention to how relationships affect your work. You must also learn to continue when nobody close to you understands. Support is valuable, but it cannot be a requirement for every meaningful action. Sometimes the people around you will not see the vision. They may need the result before they understand. Do not punish them for that. Simply stop demanding that they provide belief you must build through your own action. Their doubt does not decide your schedule. Their confusion does not cancel your responsibility. Their silence does not mean you should stop. You can love people without giving them control over your direction. Keep your circle small enough that truth can be heard, strong enough that correction is welcome, and safe enough that unfinished work is not turned into entertainment. Then return to the work. The right people will not need constant proof that you are serious. They will see your consistency. The wrong people may never understand, no matter how much you explain. Save your energy. You are not building a committee around your future. You are building the future itself. Chapter 7. Learn to trust slow progress. The most difficult part of quiet work is not starting. It is continuing when the effort remains invisible. At the beginning, a new goal has energy. You feel possibility. You make plans, imagine change, and enjoy the belief that life can become different. But after the beginning comes a long middle. The work becomes familiar. Results arrive slowly. The people who were excited may stop asking. Your own emotions become less intense. This is where patience becomes more than a nice idea. It becomes a working skill. Patience does not mean sitting still and hoping. It means continuing to act without demanding immediate proof that every action is working. It means giving a good process enough time to produce a result. It means refusing to destroy long-term progress because today feels ordinary. Many people do not fail because the goal was impossible. They fail because they expected the timeline to match their excitement. Excitement moves quickly. Growth does not. A skill may require hundreds of repetitions before it feels natural. A business may need many tests before it finds a reliable offer. A body changes through weeks and months of repeated care. Trust develops through consistent behavior over time. A strong reputation is not built by one good day. Real things take time because they are made of many parts. When you understand this, delay stops feeling like a personal insult. You begin to see it as part of the process. There is often a gap between improvement and recognition. You may become better before anyone notices. Your thinking becomes clearer. Your work contains fewer mistakes. You recover more quickly. Your routine becomes stronger. Yet the outside result remains almost the same.
Nice.
This gap can be discouraging if you measure only what other people can see. Learn to notice internal progress. Are you more consistent than you were 3 months ago? Can you remain focused longer? Do you understand the problem more deeply? Are your decisions calmer? Do you need less encouragement to begin? These changes are not small. They are the structure that future results will stand on. The world often notices the fruit and ignores the root. You must learn to value both. Patience also protects you from making emotional decisions during slow periods. When progress feels delayed, the mind searches for a dramatic solution. You may want to change the entire plan, buy another course, begin a different project, or follow a new method simply because it feels fresh. Newness creates energy, but energy is not always evidence. Before changing direction, ask whether the current method has been used consistently and long enough to be judged. Many people say a system failed when they used it irregularly for 2 weeks. They never gave it a fair test. At the same time, patience should not become stubborn attachment. A method that produces clear evidence of failure should be improved or replaced. The question is whether you are changing from learning or from discomfort. Learning says, the evidence shows this part does not work. I will adjust it. Discomfort says, this is no longer exciting. I want something easier. Be honest about which voice is speaking. A useful way to practice patience is to work in seasons. Choose a reasonable period, such as 30, 60, or 90 days, and commit to one clear process. During that period, avoid constant changes unless serious evidence requires them. Track the work. At the end, review the result and decide what to continue. A defined season helps the mind remain steady. You are not promising to follow one method forever. You are promising to test it honestly. Patience becomes easier when you stop checking for results every hour. Imagine planting a seed and digging it up each morning to see whether roots have formed. The checking would destroy the growth. Yet people do this emotionally. They post the work and refresh the reaction. They begin a habit and inspect the mirror every day. They save money and feel discouraged because freedom has not arrived in 1 month. Some measurements should be weekly or monthly, not constant. Frequent checking can turn progress into anxiety. Choose a review schedule and return to the process between reviews. Your job during the day is not to predict the final result. It is to complete the next action well. Patience also changes how you respond to other people's speed. Someone will appear to move faster. They may begin later and receive attention sooner. They may have resources, connections, experience, timing, or luck that you do not have. Watching them can create a sense of unfairness. Perhaps it is unfair. Life does not distribute opportunities evenly, but resentment will not improve your position. It consumes the energy required to use what is available to you. Study useful success without turning it into self-punishment. Ask what can be learned. Ignore what cannot be copied. Return to your own conditions and make the best decision available. Your path does not become stronger because another person's path becomes slower. Focus on building capacity, not winning comparison. There will also be moments when patience requires saying no to a quick reward. You may be offered attention before the work is ready, money that pulls you away from your values, or an opportunity that looks impressive but interrupts the main direction. Not every open door leads where you want to go. A patient person looks beyond the immediate reward. They ask what the decision will create 6 months from now. Will it strengthen the skill, reputation, health, or purpose? Or will it create noise and obligation without meaningful growth? Quick opportunities often arrive with hidden costs. A rushed partnership may create years of conflict. A careless purchase may reduce future freedom. A public promise may create pressure around an idea that still needs testing. A fast result may teach habits that cannot support long-term success. Slow thinking can prevent expensive mistakes, create space between emotion and important decisions. When you are excited, do not assume excitement is clarity. When you are angry, do not assume anger is courage. When you are afraid, do not assume fear is warning. Wait until the emotion becomes quieter. Write the facts. Consider the long-term cost. Speak with someone who has relevant experience. Then decide. Patience is not weakness. It is control over timing. The person who can wait is harder to manipulate. They are less likely to accept a poor offer because of urgency. They do not reveal everything because someone pressures them. They do not abandon a good direction because progress is not entertaining. They understand that time can reveal what emotion hides. A person's pattern becomes clearer with time. An opportunity's weakness becomes visible. Your own desire may change. Information appears. What seemed urgent becomes ordinary. You do not need to answer every question immediately. "I need time to think" is a complete and mature response. Patience also applies to your identity. You may know the kind of person you want to become, but identity changes through repeated choices, not one declaration. You cannot force the process by calling yourself disciplined while living without discipline. Allow the new identity to be earned. Each day you keep the routine, it becomes more true. Each day you control a reaction, patience becomes part of you. Each day you finish an important responsibility, reliability becomes part of you. The change may feel slow because you are living inside it. Other people may notice later. That is fine. You are not trying to create a quick impression. You are building a stable person. One reason people lose patience is that they treat every slow day as wasted time. But a slow day can still contain useful work. You may not create a major result, but you can organize, study, recover, correct, or prepare. Progress has different forms. Some days move the project forward. Some days strengthen the person carrying the project. Both matter. You should also accept that plateaus are normal. Improvement may arrive quickly at first because every lesson is new. Later, gains become harder to notice. You are no longer learning the basics. You are refining details. This stage can feel like no progress, but refinement often separates average ability from excellent ability. Do not leave simply because the improvement became less visible. Stay long enough to become deep. Modern life rewards speed of exposure. A person can become visible quickly, but visibility without depth creates pressure the person may not be able to carry. They receive the opportunity before building the habits, judgment, or character required to use it well. A slower rise can be protection. It gives you time to become ready for what you are asking to receive. You build the skill before the demand grows. You make small mistakes before the cost becomes large. You learn how to manage your time, emotions, money, and relationships before success places more pressure on them. Do not assume delay means denial. Sometimes delay is training. There is a simple evening practice that can strengthen patience. Write 3 forms of progress from the day: 1 visible, 1 invisible, and 1 lesson. The visible progress may be a completed task. The invisible progress may be that you resisted distraction or returned after discouragement. The lesson may be something that will improve tomorrow. This practice teaches the mind to see growth in more than one form. It also protects you from the lie that nothing is happening. Something is happening whenever you are learning to act with more skill, honesty, and consistency. Patience becomes much easier when you stop trying to make the journey look exciting. Most days will not become stories you tell later. They will be ordinary. You will sit down, do the work, solve a small problem, and go home. Do not disrespect ordinary days. They are the material from which extraordinary results are made. The final result may appear sudden to people who did not watch the process. They will say you became successful overnight, changed quickly, or appeared from nowhere. You will know the truth. You were there the entire time. You were working through the months when nobody cared. You were learning during the weeks when progress seemed flat. You were returning after mistakes. You were becoming stronger in a season that looked quiet from the outside. Trust that season. Do not rush to prove that it matters. Continue until the evidence becomes visible. Chapter 8. Finish the work before you celebrate it. Starting creates excitement. Finishing creates value. The world contains countless beginnings. New notebooks, new plans, new routines, new businesses, new promises, and new goals appear every day. Beginnings are easy to love because they are full of possibility and free from the weight of reality. A new project has not disappointed you yet. It has not become repetitive. It has not exposed your weak skills. It has not demanded sacrifice. You can imagine the best outcome without dealing with the difficult middle. Finishing is different. Finishing requires you to stay after the idea stops feeling new. It requires correction, patience, and attention to details that may never receive praise. It asks you to continue when another idea looks more exciting. This is why completed work is rare. Many people are not lacking ideas. They are lacking closure. They begin 5 projects and carry all 5 in the mind. Each unfinished promise creates a small amount of pressure. They may not think about every project constantly, but the mind remembers that something remains open. Over time, these open loops create confusion and guilt. Completion creates mental space. When a task is finished, the mind no longer needs to hold it in the background. You gain not only a result, but also clarity. This is why finishing small responsibilities matters. Washing the dishes, answering the important message, returning the borrowed item, organizing the tools, or preparing tomorrow's materials may seem unrelated to success, but each one trains the habit of closure. A person who regularly completes small tasks is more prepared to finish large ones. The brain learns a pattern: begin, continue, complete, reset. A person who leaves everything half done learns a different pattern: begin, lose interest, delay, carry pressure. Your ordinary behavior teaches your mind how to approach important goals. Define completion before you begin. Many projects remain unfinished because the finish line is unclear. Improve the website, get healthier, work on the book, or learn marketing can continue forever. You need a specific result. Publish the 5-page website. Walk 4 days each week for 12 weeks. Complete and revise the first draft. Finish 1 course and apply the lessons to 1 real campaign. A clear finish line allows you to measure progress and resist unnecessary expansion. Without one, perfectionism can keep adding requirements. You improve one part, then decide another part must be changed. You compare the project with someone else's work and add more. The goal becomes a moving target that never allows completion. Quality matters. Endless polishing does not always improve quality. At some point, more adjustment becomes fear of release. You are no longer improving the work. You are delaying judgment. Set a standard that is strong, responsible, and appropriate for the stage. Meet it. Then finish. Your first completed version will teach you more than an unfinished version you protect forever. Completion brings reality. People can use the product, read the work, respond to the offer, or experience the service. You receive information that imagination cannot provide. The final part of a project is often the hardest because the emotional reward feels close. You begin thinking about celebration, recognition, and the next idea. Attention moves away before the work is truly done. Protect the last 10%. Review the details, test what needs testing. Check the promise. Confirm the deadline. Clean the presentation. Complete the final responsibility with the same care you gave the beginning. Many reputations are damaged in the last 10%. A person does strong work, then rushes the delivery. They miss a detail, communicate poorly, or disappear after receiving praise. The result feels incomplete, even though most of the effort was excellent. Finishing includes how you close. If other people are involved, communicate clearly, deliver what was promised, admit what changed, organize what remains. Leave the project in a condition that can be understood later. Closure is a form of respect. You should also limit new commitments near the end of an important goal. New ideas become especially attractive when current work is demanding. The brain compares the difficult reality of the present project with the perfect fantasy of the new one. The new idea seems easier because you have not met its problems yet. Write it down, but do not automatically follow it. Create a list for future ideas. This tells the mind the thought is not lost. Then return to the current responsibility. Your ability to stay is more valuable than your ability to become excited. Many successful people are not the most creative people in the room. They are the people who remain with a useful idea long enough to build it well. Finishing also requires managing boredom. There will be parts of the work that do not feel meaningful in the moment. Editing, organizing, checking, practicing basics, completing forms, answering routine questions, or repeating a process may not inspire you, but not every important task will be interesting. Maturity is the ability to complete necessary work without demanding entertainment from it. You can make the environment pleasant. You can take reasonable breaks. You can improve the process. But do not use boredom as proof that the goal is wrong. Sometimes boredom is simply the price of becoming reliable. Create checkpoints so the project does not remain one large, distant target. Divide it into clear stages. Finish each stage, review it, and move forward. A checkpoint gives you a sense of movement without pretending the whole project is complete. Celebrate progress carefully. Small rewards can support consistency, but do not create a public victory around every early step. Too much celebration can lower urgency. It may also tie your motivation to attention. Let the reward match the stage. A finished week deserves acknowledgement. A completed draft deserves rest. A fully delivered result deserves celebration. Keep the largest celebration for completion. This teaches your mind that satisfaction follows finished work, not only exciting intention. There is an important difference between pausing and quitting. A pause is planned. You know why you are stopping and when you will return. It protects quality or health. Quitting often has no clear decision. You simply stop opening the file, attending the session, or taking the next step. Days become weeks, and the goal quietly disappears. If you need rest, define it. I will stop for 2 days and return Monday at 9. That sentence protects the bridge back. An undefined break makes avoidance easier. When you feel like quitting, do not immediately trust the feeling. Ask what is actually wrong. Are you tired? Is the method failing? Has the purpose changed? Are you afraid of the final judgment? Do you need help with one difficult part? Different problems require different answers. Rest may solve tiredness. Feedback may solve confusion. A new method may solve weak results. Courage may be required when the only remaining problem is fear of being seen. Do not abandon the entire goal because one part needs support. Completion also asks you to accept imperfection. Finished work can be improved later. Unfinished work creates no value now. This does not mean releasing careless work. It means understanding that excellence develops through completed cycles. You plan, create, finish, receive information, and improve the next cycle. A person who completes 10 honest projects will usually become more skilled than a person who spends the same period protecting one perfect idea. Volume creates lessons. Lessons create quality. Keep a completion list, not only a task list. A task list shows what remains. If you look only at unfinished responsibilities, life can feel like a permanent failure. A completion list records what you closed. It gives the mind evidence of progress and helps you understand your real capacity. At the end of each week, write what was fully completed. Then look at what remained open and ask why. Was the task too large? Was the deadline unrealistic? Did distraction take the time? Did you avoid a conversation? Did you accept too many commitments? The goal is not to create guilt. It is to improve your ability to finish. Sometimes the most important step is reducing the number of active projects. You may need to pause, cancel, or remove goals that no longer matter. Not every beginning deserves completion. Some projects were started from pressure, ego, or outdated circumstances. Finishing does not mean carrying every past decision forever. It means making a clear decision instead of leaving everything open. Complete it, schedule it, delegate it, or deliberately close it. A conscious ending is better than endless silent delay. When you finish something meaningful, allow the result to exist before you begin explaining how hard it was. Let people experience the value. Let the work stand. You do not need to attach a speech to prove the effort was real. The result is the evidence. You may feel an urge to announce early because you fear the project will never be completed. The announcement creates temporary identity. Resist it. Use that discomfort as fuel to finish. Do not tell people you are writing a book. Write the book. Do not tell people you are becoming disciplined. Follow the routine. Do not tell people you are launching. Build what can be launched. Do not tell people you have changed. Live differently long enough that the change becomes obvious. Completion transforms language from promise into truth. There is a deep peace in finishing. You know you did not abandon yourself when the work became ordinary. You stayed through uncertainty, repetition, correction, and delay. That memory becomes part of you. The next goal begins with more self-trust because you have proof that you can reach an ending. This is how finishers are made. Not through one heroic project, but through repeated closure. Finish the page, finish the session, finish the week, finish the responsibility, then finish the larger work those small endings are building. Let other people talk about what they will do. You are becoming someone who can point to what is done. Chapter 9. Build character where nobody can applaud. Success can attract attention. Character decides what happens after attention arrives. Many people prepare for the result, but do not prepare themselves to carry it. They imagine more money, influence, freedom, responsibility, or recognition. They rarely ask whether their habits are strong enough to manage those things without becoming careless. Achievement does not automatically improve character. It often reveals it. A responsible person with more opportunity may become more useful. An undisciplined person with more freedom may become more chaotic. A humble person may use recognition with gratitude. An insecure person may use it to control, impress, or prove superiority. This is why private growth matters beyond productivity. The person you become in silence will eventually enter every public result. Character is built when there is no immediate reward for doing the right thing. You return what you borrowed even though the owner forgot. You tell the truth when a lie would protect your image. You complete the responsibility even though nobody is checking. You treat a person with respect even though they cannot offer you an advantage. These decisions rarely create applause. They create alignment. Your actions begin to match the values you claim. That alignment produces a quiet form of confidence. You no longer need to convince yourself that you are honest, reliable, or disciplined. Your behavior has already answered the question. Reputation is what people believe about you. Character is what remains when their opinion is absent. You may be able to manage reputation for a while. You can speak carefully, display selected moments, and hide weak habits. But pressure eventually exposes what has been practiced in private. If you regularly avoid responsibility, you will look for someone to blame when the cost becomes public. If you regularly break promises to yourself, larger commitments will feel easy to break. If you treat people well only when they are useful, success will make that pattern clearer. Private habits are rehearsals for public moments. Practice the character you want before the stage appears. One of the strongest character habits is keeping your word. Do not give your word carelessly. A promise should not be used to end an uncomfortable conversation or create a good impression. It should represent a decision you are prepared to honor. If you cannot commit, say so. If circumstances change, communicate early. If you make a mistake, admit it directly. People can often forgive a problem more easily than they can trust repeated excuses. Your own mind also watches how you handle promises. Each kept promise strengthens self-respect. Each careless promise teaches you that your words are flexible when pressure appears. Speak with less drama and more accuracy. Do not say, "I will definitely do it," when you have not checked your capacity. Do not promise a perfect result to appear confident. Clear limits are more trustworthy than impressive claims. Character also grows through responsibility. Responsibility is not blaming yourself for everything. It is identifying the part you can own and improve. Even when another person behaved badly, there may still be a question for you. What boundary did you ignore? What sign did you avoid? What decision can prevent the same situation? Blame asks who should carry the shame. Responsibility asks what should change. The second question creates power. Excuses can protect your feelings for a moment, but they leave the problem in control. When you admit your part, you gain access to action. This is especially important in failure. The quiet worker does not need to protect a public image, so they can study mistakes honestly. They do not say the market was stupid, the audience was unfair, the team was useless, or the timing was the only problem. They examine the evidence. Perhaps the preparation was weak. Perhaps the communication was unclear. Perhaps the standard was too low. Perhaps the decision was rushed. Honesty may hurt pride, but it strengthens the next attempt. Character also requires humility after success. When a result arrives, you may be tempted to rewrite the story. You forget the help, timing, luck, and lessons that supported you. You begin to believe the result proves you are more important than people who have not reached the same place. That attitude makes learning difficult. Remain a student. The habits that brought you to one level may not be enough for the next. Continue asking questions. Continue listening to people with real knowledge. Continue doing basic work well. Success is not permission to become careless. It creates more responsibility because more people may depend on your decisions. Protect your character from the need to display generosity, discipline, or wisdom. A good act does not become more valuable because everyone knows about it. Do some things that remain entirely private. Help someone without announcing it. Correct a mistake that benefits you unfairly. Clean a shared space without claiming credit. Give your best work when the person receiving it may never know your name. These acts train your motives. They teach you to value what is right more than what is visible. You should also examine how you behave when tired, disappointed, or ignored. Character is easier when life is comfortable. Pressure reduces the energy available for performance, so real patterns appear. If you become cruel whenever you are stressed, stress did not create the cruelty. It revealed an area that needs work. If you abandon every standard when nobody appreciates you, your standard was dependent on reward. Use these moments as information. Do not excuse the behavior, but do not turn it into a permanent label either. A weakness can be trained when it is seen honestly. Say, "This response needs improvement," rather than, "This is simply who I am." Identity should support responsibility, not trap you inside bad habits. Create a private evening review. Ask whether your behavior matched your values. Ask where you made an excuse. Ask whether anyone carried a cost because you avoided responsibility. Ask what one correction should be made tomorrow. Or, keep the review short and honest. The purpose is not to punish yourself before sleep. It is to prevent repeated behavior from becoming invisible. Small corrections protect the future. Return the message. Apologize clearly. Prepare earlier. Fix the detail. Keep the promise. Tell the truth. Character is repaired through action, not through guilt. Over time, people may begin to describe you as dependable, calm, honest, or disciplined. Accept the respect without becoming dependent on it. Their words are a reflection of patterns you built privately. Continue protecting the source. Recognition may change, character should not. When attention disappears, keep the standard. When success arrives, keep the standard. When nobody would know, keep the standard. A strong result may open a door. Strong character allows you to remain in the room without losing yourself. Chapter 10. Let the result enter before the explanation. There comes a point when silence has completed its work. The skill is stronger. The project is finished. The habit has changed you. The result can now stand in public without needing imagination to support it. This is when success begins to speak. It does not speak through arrogance. It does not need to humiliate the people who doubted you. It does not need a long story about every sacrifice. The result speaks because it exists. The business serves real customers. The book has been written. The body has become healthier. The debt has been reduced. The skill can now solve a problem. The promise has been kept. Reality has replaced intention. This is the power of moving in silence. You do not spend the building season trying to look finished. You allow the process to make you ready. Then, when the result appears, it carries weight because it is supported by substance. People may call it sudden. They may say you changed overnight, became lucky, or came from nowhere. Do not become angry because they did not see the work. You chose privacy. They only had access to the final stage. You do not need them to understand every hidden hour for the result to be valid. Let them see what is visible. You know what created it. The temptation after success is to return to talking. Attention arrives, and you may begin sharing every next move because the last result proved you were capable. Be careful. One success does not remove the need for focus. The next level will also have a fragile beginning. New responsibilities will require learning. New plans will need protection. Keep the habit that brought you here. Celebrate without becoming careless. Speak about completed lessons, not every unfinished intention. Share what can help others, but keep enough space for your next season of work. Success should not turn your life into a public meeting where everyone has access to your direction. The more visible you become, the more valuable privacy may become. Attention creates requests. People want opinions, updates, access, and explanations. Some opportunities are useful, others only consume the time that created your value in the first place. Protect the workshop even after the stage appears. A person can become so busy talking about success that they stop doing the work that made them successful. Do not live from the memory of an old result. Return to practice. Return to learning. Return to the quiet standard. Success is not a permanent identity. It is a result produced under certain conditions. If you remove discipline, attention, patience, and honesty, the result may not continue. Keep the conditions strong. There will be people who doubted you. When the result arrives, you may imagine confronting them. You may want to repeat their old words and show them how wrong they were. Ask whether that action serves your future. You have already answered them. The result is present. Turning success into revenge keeps you emotionally tied to the people you wanted to outgrow. You are still working for their reaction, only now you want shock instead of approval. Release them. Success becomes lighter when it is no longer used as a weapon. Let the result serve your life, your family, your purpose, and the people who can benefit from it. That is a stronger use of victory than proving a point to someone who may never admit they were wrong. Some people will still criticize you. Results do not end judgment. In fact, visibility may increase it. More people will have opinions because more people can see you. Do not return to endless explanation. Listen for useful truth. Correct what needs correction. Ignore noise that cannot improve the work. The same boundary that protected the beginning must now protect the result. You are not required to defend every decision to every observer. Your life is not a courtroom where strangers are entitled to a full argument. Stay teachable without becoming controlled. Stay confident without becoming closed. Stay private without becoming fearful. Stay visible without becoming addicted to attention. This balance is part of mature success. Remember the person you were at the beginning. You had a plan that was easy to damage. You wanted approval. You worried about being misunderstood. You imagined the final moment because the current work felt difficult. Now look at what quiet discipline has taught you. You learned that a dream needs roots before an audience. You learned that explanations can spend energy the work needs. You learned that systems carry you when motivation disappears. You learned to return your attention after distraction. You learned that action creates evidence and evidence creates confidence. You learn to choose a smaller, more honest circle. You learn to respect slow progress. You learn to finish before celebrating. You learn that character is built where applause cannot reach. And now you understand that the strongest announcement is a life that has changed. Do not leave these lessons inside the audiobook. Choose one goal that has received too many words and too little work. Make it private for the next 30 days. Decide the next action. Give it a fixed time. Remove one distraction. Tell only the people whose help is necessary. Record completed work. Review the process each week. Return quickly after a bad day. Then watch what happens when your energy is no longer divided between building and performing. You may produce more. You may feel calmer. You may discover that much of your doubt came from listening to too many voices. You may begin trusting yourself because your days finally contain proof. Do not wait for a perfect morning. Begin with the next available hour. Do not wait for everyone to understand. Understanding is not required for action. Do not wait until you feel fearless. Fear can walk beside you without choosing the direction. Do not wait for the whole path to become visible. The next step is enough to create new information. Your future is not asking for another announcement. It is asking for your attention. It is asking for the difficult conversation, the protected hour, the repeated practice, the honest review, and the final correction. Give it those things. There will be quiet days when nothing seems to change. Work anyway. There will be days when people misunderstand your distance. Stay respectful and protect the boundary. There will be days when another person moves faster. Study what is useful and return to your path. There will be days when the result feels far away. Complete today's part. That is how distance is crossed. One day you will look back and realize that the silent season was not a delay in your life. It was the place where your life was rebuilt. You became less dependent on praise. You became more careful with your energy. You became stronger at keeping promises. You became capable of carrying a result that your earlier habits could not have managed. That is the victory beneath the visible victory. The work did not only create something outside you, it created someone inside you. Protect that person. Continue learning after people begin praising you. Continue preparing after the opportunity arrives. Continue respecting the small habits that built the large result. Let success make you grateful, not loud. Let confidence make you calm, not careless. Let experience make you useful, not arrogant. You never needed to tell everyone what you were building. You needed to build it. You never needed to win every argument about your potential. You needed to turn potential into proof. You never needed people to believe before you began. You needed to believe enough to complete the next action. So close the conversation that has been replacing the work. Put the phone away. Open the page. Enter the room. Make the call. Practice the skill. Keep the promise. Finish the task. Then do it again tomorrow. Work quietly enough to hear what the process is teaching you. Grow honestly enough to correct what is weak. Stay patient enough to let real ability develop. Finish strongly enough that the result can stand without excuses. And when success finally speaks, do not interrupt it with a speech. Let it enter the room first.